Hooray for insomnia, meaning extra productivity, and I might actually be catching up soon. Anyway, so I'm going to do it right this time. Welcome to a flyby review of No Second Prances. There will be spoilers. What I do in these reviews is really just ramble about the episode. The first part will be just a quick summary, and then I go into detailed notes about the things that came to mind while I watched the episode. Got that out of the way. I actually have an idea I got recently, because recently I've been rereading the Harry Potter books and all of my Potterhead stuff is just coming back to the surface. And I got an idea from having a conversation with someone. Instead of doing my usual good, bad, or I'm going to go into a little more detail. I'm going to grade these episodes by owl standards. Now, if you're not a Potterhead, it's okay. We'll learn together. The grades for owls from least to best is T for troll, D for dreadful, P for poor, A for acceptable, E for exceeds expectations, and O for outstanding. I'd also like to mention that it's going to be really hard for any episode to get either an O or a T, that is the outstanding or a troll, because outstanding, I'm probably gonna reserve for those episodes that really moved me, that might have even moved me to tears, or, even, just hit me in the feels, that were really beautiful. So very few episodes are gonna get an O for outstanding. Even fewer, likely, are gonna get a T for troll. Like, that is sort of a, spike at your service, like, rage type of episodes. Nothing good about them, all rage, that type of thing. So that being said, where does No Second Prances start up? Ironically, I'm actually between exceeds expectations and outstanding. Because I didn't consider it outstanding at first, but a couple rewatches, it may actually be O. I think No Second Prances is O. I think it's pretty darn good. An argument can be made for more exceeds expectations, but definitely exceeded my expectations. For starters, I was spoiled for this episode, but it still was amazing. Hold on, let me just... Alright, so things I liked about this episode. Let's just jump right into that. Things I liked about this episode. New character development for Starlight. Like, okay, everybody said it, and I've said... Well, I haven't said it because everybody's been saying it for me, but if I was asked, I would say it. That Starlight is Sunset Shimmer 2.0. And that's been a huge problem for her. In that, even though she's only really been reformed for a few episodes, we're all sitting there going, I don't know. It's like Sunset Shimmer all over again. Not that we don't like Sunset Shimmer. Sunset Shimmer is fine. But, we've got one. We don't need another one. But this episode really helped give her her own character. And not just, hi, I'm redeemed villain number 2. So I really like that. I'll go into more detail when I go into more detail. Dislikes. Because no episode is perfect. Even if they get an O for outstanding or a T for troll, there's still going to be something in the likes and something in the dislikes. The dislikes for this, number 1 problem, Fluttershy was scared of Manticore. Why? I've never really heard anyone give me an explanation that I find plausible. Why was Fluttershy scared of a Manticore when in the pilot episode, she was the only one not scared of the Manticore? And what's worse is that could have easily been filled by another pony. Like, they just went, and someone goes scared, the scared pony must be Fluttershy. But that shouldn't be the case with animals, excepting dragons. Dragons, that would still be useful, but Fluttershy shouldn't be scared of animals. Maybe, I don't know, maybe the Manticore said something really unpleasant and Manticore-ese. I think no one's ever brought that up, but that might be an explanation I'd give it. That the Manticore said something really offensive. Or something like that. But that easily could have been like a rarity. She's known to swoon for no reason, It just... yeah, I wasn't a fan of that. Otherwise, I'm gonna gush. I'm gonna warn you right now. This is gonna be one of those gushes. So, if you want a nice, short, sweet review, that's about it. I just finished it. So, run while you still can, because I'm about to go crazy on this bloody thing. Alright, so let's see. Start with the title, No Second Prances. I agree. Prancer was a good movie. It didn't need a sequel. Bloody Unicorn Master Race. Like making cooking utensils into a big funfetti cake that I'm not sure whether or not it was baked or not. Not that I'm sure you couldn't bake something with magic. But, oh, stupid. Like, I probably would have, if I did a proper review, I might make a Sleeping Beauty reference. It'll be much firmer once it's baked, type of thing. And then she goes up to Big Mac. And my first reaction when Applejack introduced her to Big Mac was like, no, I don't ship it. I know how this works. Any female who gets within a foot of Big Macintosh is automatically shipped with him. So stay away. He belongs to Marble. And oh, I hated him talking. I mean, okay, it was funny. It was funny. Like, I'm not saying, like, oh, I can't believe, like, it wasn't cringeworthy. It was funny, but it was like, but I immediately went, make it stop! That was my first reaction, long before he said it himself. I'm like, make it stop! Make it stop! Like, I love Big Mac to death, and of course Peter New should get more work, but I like him better when he's minimalist. And okay, so this is where really the character development for Starlight actually comes up, is this mainly this scene with Big Mac. She's sadistic. Like, that's something a Sunset Shimmer never really had. I've got to make sure to get their name straight. But Sunset Shimmer, once she was reformed, she was actually a pretty stand-up character. Like, she was socially apt. Like, she knew how to interact with people, because she was popular. And, even though people were wary of her, she herself, other than grabbing paintbrushes from children, I don't remember any real social awkwardness from just her being her. But Starlight is different in that aspect. She's got a very morbid sense of humor, and I like that. It's very hard to find people with morbid senses of humor, and that's probably why Starlight and Trixie got along, because they both had morbid senses of humor. You know how hard it is to find someone with a morbid sense of humor? It's hard. Like, you'll be sitting there like, oh yeah, and then this happened, and be like, dude, dark, and even I'm not saying I have an incredibly morbid sense of humor. Sometimes I'm like, oh, snap, that was uncomfortably dark. It usually has to do with the situation. But, finding someone with a morbid sense of humor is very, very hard. It's very, very hard. It's what I miss about college. Let's just say we had very morbid senses of humor in college. In the animal science department. So I like that, but what I also like is that Starlight isn't one to conform to others. Others conform to her. That's just how she is, It's like, oh, well, I can't be friends with someone who can't talk, so I'll just make him talk. I can't, oh, let me just bake a cake for you right off the bat. It was weird that Mrs. Cake was so upset, but I sort of understand. Unicorn Master Race. But yeah, that's mainly where the development for Starlight crept in. So yeah, we can move on from that. I found it weird that Sparity. I've been shipping too much. Gosh darn it. I found it interesting that Rarity doesn't have a spare dress. I mean, it's not like Starlight has a strange frame. She has a normal frame like anybody else. Just slap on some of your old dresses. It'll be fine. Dash's reaction to, what's a Wonderbolt? Was perfect. I did the same thing. It's like, my first question is, what's a Wonderbolt? And I was like, what's a Wonderbolt? Even, socially recluse, Twilight knew who the Wonderbolts were. And it's like, so like, not only can she not be friends with Spitfire, she now has jeopardized her friendship with Rainbow Dash by not knowing who the Wonderbolts are. And that's another thing. How little does Starlight know about the main six? Like, She could not have more than exchanged names with Rainbow Dash before Wonderbolts came up in the conversation. What are you doing with your life? Well, I'm a weather pony, but I hope to be a Wonderbolt someday. Like, that'd be the first thing. What do you do for a job? Well, right now. But in, what I really want to do. And then, of course, with the most recent episode. Now she really, really should know what a Wonderbolt is, I should hope. The facial expressions are getting a bit much. I didn't notice it at first, but on my multiple viewings, they're too much. They're just, because it used to be, it's one of those derpy things. Not that I didn't love Derpy's cameo in this episode and other ones, but it's one of those things where it was better when it was, a rarity. It was, oh, new facial expression, what? But they've been using it so much, it stopped being novel, and it's become kind of annoying that I'm almost sitting there going, you know what I miss? The basic faces. I miss basic expressions. Is that wrong of me? I miss ponies actually having muzzles. Is that weird of me? Angel Starlight is best familiar OTP. I'm sorry, Fluttershy, you have been replaced. Okay, so yeah, like I said, I was spoiled for the setup of this episode. So, sadly, curses to the spoilers! I just spent the first half of this episode going, when's Trixie gonna show up? And she did. She showed up, in the spa, which is like, oh, there she is. Like the first time I saw a blue pony. There she is. Hi, Trixie. I gotta, sometimes my OCD can connect with Twilight. It's like, what's great? Proper silverware placement. I gotta agree with that. Proper silverware placement is boss. Oh yeah, so, Trixie's design. Years ago, I made a video about Trixie's design. When Trixie was coming back after, it's been 3 seasons since we've seen her? Or close to it? 2 to 3 seasons? For some reason, I expected her design to be off. Because I've noticed they're sort of revamping the style ever so slightly. It's the same basicness, but I feel like they start from scratch these days. And I was expecting her design to be off, but it wasn't. Every single point that I brought up in my design video was met. I'm almost starting to suspect they've seen it. Did she have the shine in her eyes? No, she didn't. She didn't have that extra shine, that I brought up in my video. Did her eyelashes work like everybody else's eyelashes? No. They pointed forward, despite the fact that Mrs. Cake, who used to have the exact same eyelash defect, doesn't anymore, or very rarely does. But Trixie's eyelashes are always forward rather than back, like most ponies, and they kept that. And her mane is super smooth, but her tail is super messy. Everything that I brought up in my Trixie design video is still present. I think they watch my stuff. No, I'm being overly optimistic, but I did like that there was continuity in her design. I know that seems like an everyday no shit Sherlock type of thing, but I really appreciated it. I don't know, props. So Twilight's got the definition of a fake smile. People have brought up that Twilight was overly cruel in this episode, and well, obviously she was. As far as like being a role model, absolutely she was, but as far as being out of character, I'm gonna say no, she wasn't, because people are like, oh well, Discord's done much worse and Twilight forgave him. Has she? Like so many episodes with her and Discord have been like, oh, I can't stand this guy, or Discord, keep it together. It's like, are you saying we're not friends? No, that's not what I'm saying. She's always seems to talk to Discord between her teeth. And of course that episode where she flat out accuses him of going back to brainwashing. She does not trust him. She does not trust Discord, and Discord is kept under wraps by Fluttershy. Trixie, she hasn't seen in a while. It's been like 2 to 3 years for us, but who knows in pony time. And she doesn't know what Trixie's been up to. Trixie, unlike Starlight and unlike Discord, doesn't have, frankly, the restraining order, the beeper on the ankle, she's been gone doing who knows what. We don't know. She's not checking in with the main six. Unlike Starlight and Discord, who check in with the main six, and she still doesn't even trust Discord. I thought it was very, 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 very within her character. And very much within her character to be, Spike's like, well, you should just take a hands-off approach. When has Twilight plus hands-off approach ever been a thing? Like, she acknowledges it might be a good thing, but it's not something within her comfort zone. She's not like, oh, the good old hands-off approach. No, she's a freaking control freak. And she's going to control everything. And that's completely within her character. So, I really thought Twilight was on par for this. That, she didn't completely forgive Trixie. She didn't even completely and she didn't even completely trust Stardust. She admitted that. You're right, I should have trusted you. That she didn't trust her because, it's like dealing with, like, let's say you have a friend who's a recovering alcoholic, and they meet another friend who you haven't seen in a while, who the last time you knew was also a recovering alcoholic. And you're worried that they're both going to simultaneously relapse, or that other person has actually already relapsed and they're going to tempt, this person that you've been trying to help sponsor for their alcohol. I'm using alcohol as an evil magic analogy, apparently. I think that would be cause for concern. I'm not saying that Twilight is completely justified in her actions, and I loved the line where it's like, how's it going? Great, thanks for asking in a non-creepy way, I love that. I thought that was good. I love that they're self-aware when things get creepy. But yeah, I love that Twilight seemed very in character, ironically. Princess of Friendship, but she's always had a problem with control issues. Alright, I'll move on. Oh, is this the first time we've ever heard Vinyl referred to as DJ Pone 3? I'm not 100% on that, but I feel like it's the first time I've heard in the show someone call her DJ Pone 3. I don't know, I'll have to double check on that, or someone can tell me in the comments. Save me the time. Yeah, who can say who said what? I know I can't, can you? And she looks to Vinyl, and Vinyl just gives her this look that I swear was just like, until you hire no whacking, I ain't saying anything. I just was like, hire no whacking, or I'm not speaking. That's the rule. But yeah, but Twilight's trust sort of reminds me of my mother's. In the best possible way. Sort of, kind of, in a way. Hoofdini. Saw that coming. Okay. As much as I was for, actually, Starlight and Trixie becoming friends, you didn't even leave a note. You didn't even say, sorry, Twilight, I'm not going to see the ruler of our world. Just a note. I mean, my goodness. Oh, Celestia seemed overly exasperated in this episode. She just seemed like Celestia's always been a rather patient character that Twilight thinks is an impatient character. This actually seemed to be a portrayal of Celestia as Twilight sees Celestia, as being very, things are not going exactly how I wanted them to, type of character, which is how Twilight sees her, but is not usually how she is. Usually she's like, oh, okay, things don't go to plan. Awesome. I don't know, it was weird. I didn't like Celestia's portrayal here. I know it was very brief. She didn't even say anything, but still. Oh, I had a moment, one of the times I was watching the episode, where Twilight goes, let me introduce everyone. I'm like, yeah, introduce everyone, Twilight. I dare you. I dare you to introduce Derpy. Go on, step on that landmine. So what I liked about this episode, you didn't know Trixie's motives. You were sort of with Twilight in this. You didn't know Trixie's motives. What was it? And I like that you sort of discover with Twilight, although a little faster than Twilight, that while she took the opportunity, I really believed her when she's like, no, I really did want to be friends with you. Beating Twilight was just a bonus. I really believed her in that statement. That it was true. She was glad to make a friend, but she also saw it as an opportunity to beat Twilight, and she was going to take that opportunity. She was going to take it when it presented itself. And, saying things in the heat of the moment, or when not paying attention. And honestly, it was really heartbreaking when she was in tears. Like, I'm totally not thinking of killing myself, apparently. Okay, so there's the big elephant in the room about this episode. The attempted suicide. She was taking one heck of a risk just doing it. She had no way of actually completing that task without, on her own. She was... This is what I call slitting wrists syndrome, or what I tried to tell my friend about that. Like, because one time my friend is like, oh, my friend asks me, as someone who is suicidal myself, and sort of knows, it's to a point, how that mind frame works. She asked me, why don't people, cut their wrists more effectively, or put them in water, or lock the door? Why don't they do all these things that would make it more effective? Kill them faster. I'm like, because that's not how they want to go. Someone who slits their wrist, they want to suffer. They want it to be slow, not only because they feel they deserve the pain, but also why they don't lock the door. Because they want to be found. They want that, if they care about me, they'll find me and they'll save me. If not, if they don't care about me and they don't save me, then this world isn't worth living in. And Trixie did, frankly, the exact same thing. And just like someone who slit their wrists, Trixie really had very little evidence that Starlight was still around. Like, if Starlight was in the audience and she was, like, talking directly to her, then I don't think anybody would consider this really an attempted suicide, that she just had faith that Starlight, freaking heck, these ponies and their similar names, that Starlight, she just had faith in her friend. But she didn't know Starlight was there. Now, she clearly, by talking to the night, guessed that she was probably there, but she didn't know. So she was taking a huge risk. And it frankly was a suicide attempt. Now, are little chillins going to pick up that it was a suicide attempt? No. Are the parents of those little chillins going to bring up that it's a suicide attempt? No. Are the little chillins who are watching this video now traumatized? Very likely. But, I really think that was interesting and darker, and I think one of those sneak by the censor type things. It was very, very deep, very dark. I liked it. This is in no way negative. I wish they could go more in depth on that topic, but they can only do so much, really. So yeah, Starlight Trixie, friend ship it. I don't ship it only because I already ship, Starlight and Sunburst, and I really am not sure I'm comfortable enough with an OT3. Maybe OT3? I don't know. And of course, the cherry on top at the end, someone finally asks Celestia how her hair works. Oh, I love that. Well, I have been rambling on for a embarrassingly long amount of time. I want to hope and get this out before next week so I can try and get back on track with the episodes, because I'm still behind. Still hoping for another hiatus, because unfortunately the last hiatus was during BabsCon, which meant I got no work done. Balanced out that I didn't have another episode to worry about, but it also meant I couldn't catch up with the last hiatus, so give me another hiatus. That's not during a weekend where I'm busy. Geez, guys, look at my schedule before making your own. God, so inconsiderate. Alright, well, that's about it. Amazing episode. No, I'm gonna give it an E. I'll give it an E for exceeds expectations rather than an O, just cause... Why, Fluttershy, why? And it didn't hit me in the feels as hard as other episodes have. But 'twas good, and I hope that this trend continues.